Generosity and gratitude create a cascade of positive benefits in the neural networks of the brain, which impacts the physiology, the psychology, the spirituality of the individual. Today's Psalm for today, we are considering Psalm 37 again. We are in verse number 29. We are in verse number 26, which talks to us about the person who is generous. Many people know the passage, I have never seen the righteous forsaken, nor their seed begging bread. I've been young, I've been old, but I've never seen that. The next part of that passage, the same paragraph, that person is lending generously. This is speaking about the generous person. I've never seen the generous, righteous person forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. It's poetic, but the concept really is on the value of generosity, the value of being so thankful, so appreciative to God that you have something and you're able to share, you're able to be generous with that something. Now, we are considering the fact that God's giving was first self-giving. For when he created the world, this was the expression of who he is. He said, let there be. This came out of him. This came out of God. And for example, John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. He gave of himself. The kind of giving I'm referring to in these series of a Psalm for today is a self-giving. Now, self-giving carries a risk. Self-giving allows us to be vulnerable. It creates a vulnerability because in the giving of ourselves, we realize that deepest part of us can be rejected. That deepest part of us can be misunderstood. That deepest part of us can be unappreciated, or even at the deepest level, that deepest part of us can be hated. We develop this self-giving, we develop this vulnerability in order to be like God. Now, some religions have gods that require you to fear them. Some religions have gods that demand obedience. Our God, the true God, the one living God, is a volitional God. In other words, God does not make you love him. He invites you to love him and allows you to make your own choice. Would it be terrible if your wife said, I have to love you. It's my responsibility. It's like, no. I don't want a wife who has the responsibility to love. I want a wife who wants to love of her own will. Well, a lot of people have that with God. It's like, well, hear, O Israel, Lord thy God is one thou shalt love. I guess I have to love God, which is not the same as being vulnerable and saying, God, I want to love you. In that vulnerability, we bump into times when, as God's covenant partner, we're disappointed with God. We bump into when we get upset with God. There are moments when he gets upset with us too, because it's volitional. It's an act of our will. It's an act of his will. So self-giving includes a vulnerability and a risk. What we know about the generous person of Psalm 37:26, the one who's ever generous, and by the way, it says this ever generous righteous man, his children become a blessing. That's one of my prayers and Paula's prayers from the very beginning of our family, and that is that our children would be a blessing to people, especially the church. We wanted to raise children who love the church. Why? because the Bible says Jesus loved the church and gave himself for it. So we wanted to raise kids who, like Jesus, love the church and give themselves for it. When you are navigating vulnerability and the giving of your authentic self, I think I have a couple of words that I wanted to use. I think that we learn to sit with people in responsive, loving, and affirming presence. Responsive, loving, and affirming presence. One time I was kind of wounded and hurt by a guy, and a friend came to see me, and I brought up the person, the situation of the person that had hurt me, and my friend said, "I didn't come here to talk about that." And it was shutting down and saying, "I'm not here to have an authentic relationship with what you're going through. I'm here for another agenda." And I remember my wife's grandfather had cancer, and he had just found out that he had that cancer. So I went as quick as I could to the rest home where he was, and I was ready to pray for him and see him healed. But when I got there, a Catholic nun was doing her rounds, and she was there before me. So I just stood and listened. And what she was doing was very different than what I was going to do. I was going to apply faith. I was going to bring my view of God's healing power. What she did was she sat with him in a responsive, loving, and affirming, emotionally present way. I think I call him Pastor Bascom, but she said, and how does it feel to have cancer? What emotions are you feeling? He said, "Oh, it's scary, it's dark, it's life-threatening." And she said, "Have you ever had life-threatening events before?" "Yeah." "Well, tell me about those." And then he started talking about all the miracles of how God had saved him from this tragedy and that tragedy. And I hadn't had all the psychology classes and everything that most people had had. I sat there and I was thinking, I'm learning from a master craftsman, master craftswoman. She has dialed in on how to sit and be the presence of Jesus, as it were, in a loving, caring, listening, inviting, affirming way. And when we love and we give of ourselves, there is risk. There's the risk of rejection. There's the risk of being trampled. There's the risk of being misrepresented abroad. That's happened to me 1,000 times. Probably every pastor. You tell somebody what you're feeling, and then that's misrepresented and quoted, maybe sometimes for years. But nonetheless, to come alongside and say, my goal is to be generous, a self-giving generosity, and to be vulnerable with you. I'm talking with a couple from another country. I'm in Thailand right now, but they're from another country. And yesterday, the couple said to me, we need to talk because we have a little bit of a challenge on work-life balance. I said, I think we should talk about work-life balance, but I might be your student because this has been a challenge for me my whole life. And it felt good for me to be able to be vulnerable and say, I don't have the work-life balance thing figured out. I'm not a guru on this. And it felt good for them to be able to say, neither do we, but maybe we can coach you. So, brothers and sisters, to be vulnerable with people, to give a gift, a gift of self, a gift of the authentic self, is to be responsive, loving, and affirming with people in a home. Somebody in your town is in a rest home or a care facility or an assisted living and has not had a visitor in weeks, get out, give of yourself. Say, hey, I don't know you, but my name's Kent, and I heard that maybe it'd be good for us to get to know each other, and plop down, eat a cookie together, drink some tea, and become vulnerable and listen to one another.